Hello, brick sculptors, and welcome back to Brick Sculpt. This is the sort and chat for January. If you're not familiar with these videos, I try to do these once a month, and what the purpose is to accomplish a task and tell you guys what's going on. So if you enjoy this kind of video, it's going to be a little longer one. Kick back, relax. I'm going to put all of this stuff away. If you didn't see the video, this is all from Topher's Brick Emporium. And there is a lot of stuff here. And the vast majority of this, actually, I've kind of taken most of the specialty stuff out. And this stuff is all just bulk parts. Our goal here is to work on the wall. I've got so many bins going on and so many new bins with new colors, obscure colors, and I need to make them look more full. Let's see, a good example of that would be coral. I got a good start, but there's a lot of coral in here. It's going to look a lot better at the end. Other colors like light greenish yellow. What is this color? Yellowish green? Yellow green? I don't know what it is, but I got a lot in there. It's going to help the bin out for sure. Some people in the comments have said that this is kind of a waste, that buying this stuff, you're not going to use it in all the obscure colors. They're not wrong. I mean, a lot of this stuff is not going to get used a lot. But I want a nice, complete collection with all the different things that are at my fingertips that Lego makes. And the more the better. You know, half the fun of this is building the stuff. Half the fun of the stuff is collecting it. So having a nice collection can go a very long way. Well, how am I going to tackle this? I have a lot of stuff here. And I think the best thing to do is just to start grouping it by color. Since all my bins are sorted by color, this is all sorted by piece right now, which I know is a more popular approach. Although my stuff is sorted by piece and color, but color first and then piece. So I think we just need to kind of break in and make piles here by color, and then we can pull out bins by color and fill them up. We got a lot of this bright light yellow, I believe that's the name of this color. And these were actually purchased for my pencil build. I'm almost done with the giant Lego pencil. If you haven't seen that video or those videos, it's a project I've been working on for arguably too long. But you know, I like to get distracted and go down lots of different rabbit holes with different projects. And yes, unfortunately, some of them get left behind in pursuit of other ones. And the pencil is kind of one of those projects. It's super close to done. I've got everything already figured out in my head as for what is going to be what. But I just haven't finished it yet. It's close, though. At this point, I have to gather a few more pieces, and I'll be done with it. This is also for the pencil, these green 1x1s, dark green, sorry, 1x1s. And that, both those colors are for the ferrule of the pencil. If you're not familiar with the term ferrule, that's the little metal thing that holds the eraser on. And I have the design down. I actually had asked the audience, my amazing fans and viewers, how to do the ferrule. And I got some awesome ideas on the Discord server. And so I'm actually using fan ideas to finish the ferrule and the end of the eraser. Not that I couldn't do it myself, but I wanted to get your input because sometimes, actually oftentimes, when you open it up to a group, you get a better result. And I like to involve you guys, and it was a project I was kind of sick of. Some projects I like to do on my own. You know, I love you guys' input, but I do take some of this stuff as like personal challenges. So like the Rubik's Cube, for example, I'm trying to get as little input as possible because I myself mentally want to destroy my brain trying to finish that project, which is inevitably what's happening. I've been going through it in spurts. You know, I'll work on it for 2-3 days and put it aside and then pick it up again. And it really does hurt my brain. I mean, I'm getting close to like some good concepts, but man, the complexity is just insane. But that's half the fun for me. You know, yes, I could go online and follow someone's design. I know one of my longtime friends and followers from this channel, Luca Herman. He designed this logo. Thank you, Luca. And just a master of Lego. I mean, his talents are definitely beyond mine. I know he did one and he posted everything on the Discord server, and I've been trying to look at it without looking at it, because although I would love to build his design, again, it's the personal challenge I'm after. You know, I like the chase as much as the result. You know, because if you don't have the chase, you don't learn. You know, and that's, to me, the whole point of this stuff is to get better at it and figure something out on my own. Because if you just copy a design, you know, you can learn it, but you learn it in a different way than if you figured it out on your own. It's about the process, really. And that's just how I work. Not everyone's like that. You know, I'll often do something like I'll post a picture of something I built, like a tree or something. And you know, people will comment and they'll say, all right, instructions and parts list, please. And, you know, you take a tree. Let me see, I grab one over here, for example. Got some sitting next to me, something like this, you know. And, you know, in this video where I covered this was the one about the Swiss trees, the ultimate conifers, whatever you want to call that video. But, you know, you can take a concept and, you know, anybody who's done a little bit of Lego can look at this and kind of see the structure. I also, in that video, showed how I worked these branches with the Travis bricks and all that. And, you know, instead of having instructions and parts lists, I hope that somebody could look at something like this and get inspired and see, hey, I could build that, and work through it on their own a little bit, because your tree doesn't have to look just like mine. And that's kind of the beauty of it, because trees don't all look the same, and maybe your design will be better than mine. You know, if you just try to build what I build, then you build it and you go, oh man, Brick Sculpt makes crappy trees. You know, make your own, and you should. You know, I love looking at the people's designs. I watch a lot of Lego people on YouTube. Excuse me. And oh, I love this color, by the way. It's a vintage color. You don't see it very often. I think it's retired. This may be the only piece I got in that color, but I bought it. Anyway, I do watch a lot of people do Lego on YouTube, mostly people with mocks. Like I love, for example, Brick Crafts. Fantastic builder, amazing channel. This guy has a bottomless wallet, apparently, but I know he does it for a living, so it kind of makes sense. But you know, I like to see his ideas, but, you know, I can get inspired and I can pick up on things here and go, oh, that's a cool technique. And instead of trying to find an instruction, I'm going to say, I'm going to take that back to my wall and workshop it. And mine's going to come out a little different than his, which is good and bad, but it can be good too. But I'll learn how to do it, and then I'll use it next time, or I'll make it my own and possibly even enjoy it more than someone else's design. So, you know, just ranting, but that's kind of the intention of a lot of these videos, is more to give you guys ideas and inspire you than give you a step-by-step on how to build one specific thing, because that only goes so far. You know, give a man a fish and you'll feed him for a day, and teach him to fish and he'll spend every weekend drinking beer and fishing. Just kidding. He'll feed himself for a lifetime. So that's just kind of my philosophy on that. And I know that might not be a popular philosophy, but that's kind of how I look at it. This is incredibly satisfying, by the way. I feel like it's spring already, even though we're in the dead of winter. I feel like Easter is right around the corner just because of all these amazing colors. And not one of these colors up here do I have a large collection of. So this stuff is all going to go to use. And you may be wondering how I did this order, because this is a whopper. And I mentioned in that video that I apologized right after I ordered this from Topher's Brick Emporium. It's actually, I think I still have the order around here. Where'd it go? Well, I can't find it, but it is actually 22 pages printed out. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Right here. 22 pages of parts printed out for this order. You can see right there, 22. So I actually sent him a message through Brick Owl, immediately apologizing. Now, I've ordered from Topher's many times. It's one of my favorite stores. Great prices, great selection. If you haven't checked him out, check him out. I think he's on Bricklink as well, but I may be wrong about that. Most people who are on Brick Owl are also on Bricklink, but there are some exceptions to that. But anyway, I sent him a message and I said, I apologize. This is probably going to be the hardest order you've ever picked. I mean, think about trying to pick this out of a bin. The counting, and this order was $105. It was not cheap, but for how much stuff it is, I mean, think about like a Lego set. You buy one big Lego set, especially nowadays, this many pieces would be far beyond $105. Lego just announced the first like 5 Pokemon sets, and I haven't told anyone on this channel before, but I am a bit of a Pokemon fan, and I'm quite into it, and I've been considering doing some Lego stuff with Pokemon. And I'll be honest with you, the stuff they released is cool, or showed is cool, but $650 for a sculpture, and the one thing that kind of irks me, I know it's coming with the Pokemon stuff, but the one thing that really irks me is that Pokemon, at the end of the day, it's a kid's thing, and yes, it has gotten very adult in the recent years, especially with the cards and everything, but where are the play sets? You're going to have kids all over, and I know they're coming, but I want to see minifig scale Pokemon. I mean, I would even consider when I'm done with my Lego city, because if you know me, I don't keep my Lego cities forever. I build them, I enjoy them, I build them some more, I improve on them, but eventually I take them apart and start over because I only have so much space and I like to build new things. So I don't keep stuff around forever, and I had considered in the past, I think it'd be pretty cool to do like a full Pokemon city in the future, but in order to do that, I would need like a lot of Pokemon minifigs, a lot of actual Pokemon scaled for minifigs, and I hope they're going to do that. I mean, as a kid, I can tell you, I was in middle school. Yeah, I think middle school, when Lego released the first Star Wars sets. And I was the biggest Star Wars fan I knew in school. I had it all. I had all the action figures. I had all the micro scale ones. I had it all. And my mom was really into creative play. She didn't buy us things like video games. We had stuff here and there, but it was all outdated and it wasn't as exciting to us. But my mom was never afraid to get us stuff like Lego and like action figures, things that you can do creative play with, because that was what she thought, and she was correct, was good play for kids. It's creative, it's ingenuitive, it's building, it's so much more. So she had, through Christmas and birthday, I got every one of the early Lego Star Wars sets. I mean, I had them all. There weren't a lot. There was an X-Wing, there was a Y-Wing, there was a TIE Fighter. I think the TIE Fighter came with the Y-Wing, maybe the X-Wing. But anyway, and they had all the Episode 1 stuff. They had a Snow Speeder. I had that. So they had Luke's, Land Speeder. They had they had all kinds of them, and I had pretty much all of them. There weren't a ton. It's not like today where they had Star Destroyers that you can spend $500, $600, $800 on. No, these were made for kids. The most expensive Lego sets. Now, mind you, this was like early 2000s, but the most expensive Lego Star Wars sets were like $60, maybe up to $100. If the biggest one. And that's because they were play sets and they were designed for kids. And I'm not knocking AFOLs by any means, because as you can tell, I'm a filthy addict to Lego, and I am an AFOL. But it was a different world and time. And when you take a theme like Star Wars or you take a theme like Pokemon, it really should be about the kids first. I think so. And I tell you, if they do minifig scale stuff, it will be awesome. I mean, absolutely awesome. And I would be all in. I'll buy that stuff. I would absolutely buy that stuff because I think it'd be fun. And I'd love to collect all 1,000, however many there are, because we're over 1,000 now, Pokemon in minifig scale. I'd be all in for that. I'd spend a lot of money on that. But having a statue of a Pikachu, it's cool. Doesn't do a lot for me, though. It's just personally... not much you can do with it outside of build it and put it on a shelf. That's just how I look at it. So, just my take. The other thing that kind of drives me nuts is when Lego does release stuff, just in general, we all know the sets are getting more expensive. And part of that is, Lego getting a little bit away with it. They're just kind of boosting stuff up and up for plastic parts. You're getting sets that are just getting real expensive. For example, in that Pokemon stuff, they released a Eevee sculpture, just a figure, big figure. It was 500 parts for $60. That's kind of nuts. That's really nuts. That should be like $30, maybe $40 in my opinion. $60 is a lot for that. I mean, I know it's licensed, it's a theme, and it's gonna sell because it says Pokemon on it and it says Lego on it, and those two things together are a deadly combination. But that's a lot of money. I mean, it really is. But the thing that kind of drives me nuts, when I was a kid, you went into a Lego store, or more of an aisle of a store, Walmart or Target or wherever it may be, and the expensive sets were $60, but the selection of sets that were $10, $15, $20, $25 was abundant. You go into a Lego aisle nowadays, and the cheaper stuff that kids can and will be able to buy and enjoy, it's so much smaller, which is just sad, because that's what gets that younger generation into it. And these kind of toys are so great for those aged kids, and that's what they need. I have a daughter who's 6, and I love getting her into this stuff. We don't do a lot of video games, very little. We have a Switch, but it rarely ever gets played. And, but she has all the creative play stuff. She has her own Lego City, although she wish she used it a little bit more. But, girls tend to be a little heavier on some other hobbies. She's real into the Barbies and things like that. But she's into the Lego. I just kind of got to work with her a little more on it, I guess. But anyway, where was I going with this one? Oh, the selection of kid-oriented sets has just kind of gone down. They've put a lot of focus on the AFOLs, and I totally understand why. You walk into a Lego store, as I do frequently, and I think I'm the only person who walks in and goes straight to the pick-a-brick wall. And I do look at the stuff on the way, because of course it's cool, but my focus is I'm going there to buy parts. And, it's just a line at the register of adults, and every one of them has a set that's over $100 in their hands. And it's awesome that the hobby's growing. It's really cool that they've ventured out and they've found a way to attract adults into it. But it's so obvious. They're like, man, we can do no wrong. We put out a set that costs $600, it's gonna sell, especially if it says Pokemon on it, or I made a video a while ago about a visit to Pick-a-Brick, and I happened to show up on a Friday at 10 o'clock, completely unknowingly that they were launching the new Stranger Things set, the Creel House, and it was cool. Was it worth $300 some? Probably not. It was cool, and they were there. I mean, there were people lined up, and they had enough of them. I could have bought one. I wasn't going to, but I could have bought one. I know some of those people were probably going to buy it and flip it, which is not my game. I don't do that. Even if you can make a buck, I don't think it's really the right thing to do. But I know there's a lot of people that make money doing that, and that's fine. But yeah, it was so insane, the amount of people that just line up to spend $300 on some plastic bricks to put on a shelf. But hey, to each their own, right? I mean, I've long said, if you said, hey Chris, I got $300 for you. You can have it in loose bricks, or you can have it in any set you want. I'd take loose bricks every single day. Like I said, this order, and I'm like halfway through it. I've still got all these bags. This was $105. Now, I know a lot of these colors are unpopular, so they're a little cheaper, but still, $105. If you bought $105 set and tried to take it apart and use the parts for building other things, one, it's going to be a bunch of parts you don't want or need. Now, I know these colors are weird, but imagine that they're different colors. But two, you're you're not going to get this many parts, and especially this variety of parts and this amount of useful parts. You're going to get stuff that's very specific to what it was made for, and those parts are not going to be used for much else. And this is not a new thing for me either. I know I've said this before on this channel, but even as a kid, now I enjoyed sets as a kid, for sure. But my parents, they liked spending money on toys like this, as I said, creative play toys. But they also were fairly frugal. You know, they were crafty. You know, they were good at hitting up a garage sale and finding a gigantic tub of Lego for $20, $30 back then. And they'd buy that. And, you know, I know a lot of kids would be like, what is that? It doesn't say Star Wars on it. It's a bunch of loose bricks. What do I do? No. That was what I wanted. I mean, even back then, if you would have given me a pile of Lego, I would have built with it all day long. I want to build cities. I want to build my own stuff. Sets are cool and all, but I always want to build my own stuff. And I'm still like that. You know, I do very few sets. They are fun to build. I know recently I just did a video on the Speed Champions. I built the G-Class. I got him right here. Hold on. This, which was awesome. Honestly, this set, I haven't had this much fun building a set in a long time. I messed up one of my tailpipes there. Are they still called tailpipes if they come out the side? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. But anyway, I built this, and it came with the SL, which is also up there. But this was really the crown jewel of that set. I mean, this was the highlight for sure. And honestly, I had more fun building this than anything I've built in a long time because the techniques were insane. I mean, just a masterclass. Look at the different grids here. You got 5 long. The amount of jumpers and crazy stuff going on in there is just insane. It was like a masterclass in jumper plates. But anyway, a lot of fun to build. And so every now and then I do like something like that. But mind you, this was not crazy expensive. Now, I didn't buy it. I got it as a birthday present that I didn't build for way too long. I felt kind of bad. But just been busy, you know. I'm always got a lot of Lego stuff. I don't have a lot of time for the sets. But anyway, you know, that was kind of an outlier. And I do like building that stuff, but I much prefer building my own things instead. And just getting the sword into colors is going to take me forever. And then I got to put it all away. Lots of different colors here. I do love the variety that Lego has now. You know, this is completely new, at least to me. You know, in my past, I been doing this a long time, and of course, in my era, I started out with, you had basically 5 colors. You know, you had white, gray, black. You 6 colors: white, gray, black. Then you had red, yellow, and blue, and that was it to start. And then eventually, they introduced dark gray and brown and green. Now, green was always around, but it was only base plates and plants. They didn't have like bricks and stuff. And then they started putting out those colors in more actual pieces, and that was like a game changer. It was like we went from 6 colors to 9 colors, and that felt like the greatest thing ever. And then I did that for a while, and a few other weird colors came out. Eventually orange came out, and tan. Tan came out at the same time, actually, as like the brown, the dark gray, and the brown and stuff. I remember I got had a lot of the adventurers stuff, the Egypt stuff, not so much the jungle, but the Egypt stuff, and the tan parts were everywhere, which was really good because that was something I didn't have a lot of. But anyway, I took a decent dark ages, as the AFOLs will call it, where I did not do much with this stuff for many, many years, and then revisited the hobby. Now, when I revisited the hobby, I didn't go out and buy stuff. I pulled the gigantic tubs out and said, let's build a city because it's winter and I'm bored. And I just started from the ground up as if I were in 2006, except the only difference was it was like 2017. And a lot had changed. As I built this stuff, it felt totally natural. And then I started looking online for ideas, because I'm like, hey, YouTube and how-tos and stuff were not much a thing when I used to do this. Let's see what's out there. And I started to quickly discover that my stuff was ancient. And I was very, very behind, which is very overwhelming. And I know this is a common problem for AFOLs, because, you get into this and you want to get into it, but, like, you look at this, and to a lot of people it's like, holy cow, how do I play catch-up? And I was super overwhelmed with that. I'm like, well, if I want to get back into this hobby and take it seriously, I have a lot of stuff to buy. And that's intimidating for sure. But I took it slow, and I kind of started with like plant pieces. Like, even back in the day, I loved building Lego trees, but it wasn't easy. It was kind of like the trees you see in like the old knight sets, where you have like the arches and then the branch pieces, and that's about as good as you can do, in that time, just with the part selection. But I was watching some people build like more modern trees, and I'm like, all right, I gotta go out and buy some stuff. And then I did visit a Pick-a-Brick, actually in Chicago, which I was there visiting some. Why was I there? I was there for a wedding, and I was visiting with some family before the wedding. By the way, I know you guys might know I live in Chicagoland. I don't go into Chicago. I do, like, on super rare occasion, maybe once a year. I avoid the city. I'm not a city person. I don't like going downtown. I don't like the busyness. I don't like how expensive everything is. I am a suburbanite through and through. So when I say I went to Chicago, that is not a normal thing for me. I can be downtown in an hour. Actually, 45 minutes I can be in the city limits. But I don't go there. It is not a place I enjoy being. And there are some things I like about the city, but it's just a lot of stress for me. It's not my lifestyle. It's not my thing. I know a lot of people do love it, but I am not one of them. Anyway, off track again. Anyways, I was at a Pick-a-Brick wall in Chicago. Beautiful big Pick-a-Brick wall. I think it was the first Pick-a-Brick wall I ever hit, to be honest with you. And they had the 3-leaf pieces, which has since become like my favorite piece. In fact, it's the only piece that I have an entire bin dedicated to just those. And so they had the bright green ones. And it was kind of a weird moment for me, because I was with some of my family, and the whole like being open as an AFOL thing was kind of new to me, where I still kind of like kept that hobby close to the chest, I didn't talk about it a whole lot, didn't have much to show for it, and it was kind of like, this is also something I do. And I'm buying Lego parts, and they thought it was the weirdest thing. Like, why is Chris buying this stuff? And, they're like, do you actually do this? And I go, yeah, I'm getting back into it and really want these parts. And I bought like almost a whole Pick-a-Brick cup of those 3 leaves. Got them back, started playing with them, and it just opened so many doors for me. I was like, man, this part is fantastic. And I built and built and built with it. I was building a ton of trees, and the level of trees, now it's not like the stuff I'm building now, but at that time, it was so much greater than anything I had ever built before as far as Lego trees. And just incredibly eye-opening. Like, this is what I need to be doing. I need to focus on certain parts and for certain projects. And that's what I'd recommend to you if you are kind of caught up in that, where maybe you have an old collection, or maybe you don't know where to start as far as buying stuff, because this stuff gets expensive. It's hard to just go out and spend like this. Now, one of the reasons I can do this is because of this channel. It gives me a little bit of income, not a lot, but a little bit of income each month, so I don't feel guilty when I do go drop $100 on a Lego order. It kind of pays to fuel the hobby, and that's really all it does. I still have a full-time job. This is not my living like it is for some YouTubers, and I don't know that I really ever want it to be. If it happened to work out that way, I don't think I'd be against it, but I don't think that's really what I'm pursuing. But anyway, off topic again. Anyway, if you are looking to kind of grow with your collection and your skills, I would highly recommend, pick a few projects, start small, pick a tree, grab something you want to build, something you see maybe on this channel or on another, like a tree like this, and Okay, what do I need for that? And go out and buy those specific pieces, you know. You might spend 20 or 30 bucks and it's going to teach you some stuff and give you some parts. And if you don't like the tree you built, take it apart, use that stuff for something else. You know, don't be afraid. You don't have to keep everything you build. I keep very little that I build. Now, because of this channel and because now I now have a dedicated room just for this, I keep a little bit more than I used to. But I take a lot of stuff apart because otherwise you just got to keep buying if you don't. It's another reason I don't really care too much for sets, is because then you got to find a place to put it and store it forever. Just kidding. Yeah, so, you know, start small, find something that interests you, buy that, you know, and build up. And trust me, this collection was not built overnight. This collection was largely fueled by this channel. It would not be this big if it wasn't for this channel. And I don't consider myself to have a huge Lego collection. I consider myself to have a large Lego collection. And I consider myself to have a very targeted Lego collection where the stuff in it, to me, makes sense. It's not everything. And when I do a crazy big project like the giant pencil, I have to order specifically for that project, and I'm willing to do it if it's a project I'm willing to sink something into, like that pencil. I've probably spent, I don't know, $200-300 on it, maybe more. But it's something I wanted to do, you know, and I had to buy a ton of tile, you know, tons of yellow tile. If I ever take that pencil apart, I will never have a use for all that yellow tile. But I bought it for that project. That project will probably keep around forever or close to. And who knows? Maybe I will take it apart. But yeah, so things like that, you know, I don't have to have a giant stock of it. I can always buy it as I need it. But most people aren't building stuff like that just to build it. Because obviously that is for the channel more than anything. Although I think I might do something cool with it. I kind of want to put it up in my daughter's school. They've got like a big display case right by the front door that's always either empty or very poorly used. You know, like it's massive. It's got to be like 6 foot by 5 foot. It's absolutely huge. And they put like, you know, some posters in it. It's this big glass display case. You could do a really cool display in there, but I just don't think they have a lot of interesting stuff to put in there. It's usually just like paper letters and signs and things like that. But I'd love to get in contact with the principal and see if I could do something cool in there. Might do that. Maybe I'll have to build something else to go with it, though. Just the pencil probably wouldn't be enough. But anyway, yeah, so, you know, I let the collection build over time. Small orders like this, although this actually isn't a small order, this is a big order. But over time, just getting more and more stuff, collecting it, letting it grow naturally. And, you know, yes, I've spent thousands of dollars on Lego. I will admit that. I really don't want to know the number of dollars I've spent on Lego because I don't think it will make me feel great. But, you know, it over time, it doesn't feel like that. You know, when I probably right now spend about $200 a month on Lego. Maybe a little more, maybe a little less, depends on the month. I am slowing down because I am getting a larger and larger collection and big projects. I haven't had any huge ones lately that I've had to invest a lot in. Yeah, it adds up. And like I said, the channel is the reason I can do that. This is just looking, I feel like I have a pick-a-brick wall in front of me. This is so cool how this is coming out. It's going to be a lot of work to put these away. And I'm getting close here. That's all I got left. These are specialty. Those aren't going in bins. And at least not in these bins. They'll go in other bins. We're just doing the colors today. I tend to get lazy with these bags. And eventually I kind of stop opening them and start ripping them. I know I've had some people in the comments get mad at me about it. And, you know, the truth is, when you order as much of this stuff as I do, I have so many bags. And I have used it. I take them to work. You know, I manage a bike shop, and we do like hardware, I'll sell somebody one bolt for something, or valve cap or something silly, and it is nice to be able to put it in a little bag so they don't lose it in their pocket. But I have a gazillion little bags. I mean, look at this. This is right here. This is all bags, and it's just from this order. And I do several of these a month. So, I mean, just imagine. And I know I should be better about recycling them, finding someone to take them. It's just a project I don't really want to invest a lot of time into. Man, I thought I had more of this yellowish green. I guess I didn't get as much. It is not a very common color, which is surprising because I think it's of all these colors, I think it's one of the more useful ones. Man, now I'm down to all the little parts. This is going to be fun to sort. Holy cow. But yeah, of all these colors, I think it is one of the better ones, but there just is not a large part selection in it. Lego doesn't make much in that color. So I guess I didn't get that much. There's a few more. Yeah, a lot of this is just driven by these bins. It kills me to take a bin in a certain color and pull it out. And this actually doesn't look that bad. But, I compare it to like a tan bin or a green bin. It's like, man, I could have so much more. But I really don't need them. But they're going to look so good. All right, we're in the tedious phase here. And yes, I'm starting to rip bags. I'm sorry. I apologize to the bag police for destruction of bags. I just have too many. If anyone wants bags, let me know, although I have no idea how I will get them to you. I had mentioned a while back that I'm going to be doing a show, and a lot of you probably instantly thought, oh, Brick World Chicago. Brick World of Chicago is not something I've ruled out. It is definitely an environment that I know very little about. I attended it last year. We're in 2026 now, I can say that. I attended it last year, and it was a lot of fun. I'm glad I went. Brought a couple of friends with me who are not the biggest Legoers, but they were we Legoed really hard together as kids. And they know I'm super into this, and they know I do the channel and all that. And so we kind of did like almost a Lego reunion and went and saw the stuff, which was super cool. As much as I'm involved in the online Lego community, I'm not super involved in the in-person Lego community. And I don't know if I say that as a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know if I wouldn't say it's a good thing, I guess. It's, being social is always great, but I don't know. I kind of like this hobby in the capacity I do it. I do feel like I get a lot of interaction through the internet with other people and sharing of ideas. And I don't know if meeting in person with people would change a lot. Something like a lug or something that has meetings and groups and group events. And I'm not against that stuff at all. Do not misread this, but I don't know if I would benefit much from that. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is my in-person Lego friends are very few and far between, and almost non-existent. But my online ones are abundant. And, this hobby is widespread and huge, but there aren't a ton of people doing what I do in mocks and stuff. I mean, there are, but in the reality of the entire world, I meet tons of people at the bike shop, lots of people, and many my age, many older than me. A lot of them are into Lego, but mostly sets. But it's hard to find people super like-minded in this hobby, and that's one of the reasons I really like the channel, and one of the reasons I started the channel was to find those people without having to physically find those people, But anyway, the point I'm getting at here, I did do the Brick World Chicago thing. It was cool. I kind of kept a low profile there. I was through the show pretty quick. I didn't spend super long there because I had a very busy weekend and I had to kind of sneak out there for a few hours and then get home. But, would I be open to doing Brick World Chicago? Yeah, I'd be open to it. I'd have to look at the schedule with work and all that, and I'd have to look at what I have to display and how I would do it. But I would consider it if they'd have me. I know you have to be invited or apply and get accepted, which I probably could do. Maybe not. I don't know. Don't know how exclusive they are, but I think I could possibly do it. So that's something I would consider for the future. Let me know if you guys know more about that and if you think it'd be a good idea. But anyway, back to displays. The shop that I manage is in Geneva, Illinois. And Geneva is putting on an event called the Art Explosion. And this is kind of a new thing that they haven't done in the past. And a good friend of mine is putting this event on. And basically what they're doing is it's for the Chamber of Commerce, and the local merchants, the small businesses downtown are going to invite artists, small artists, local artists, to put displays up in their businesses. And the bike shop is a business downtown, and they want to be involved in this. And I built that Lego bike shop you may have seen on this channel. And so they had asked if I would want to display in the store. And I know having that bike shop there, I've had a lot of customers super curious about the Lego stuff and how I built it. And almost everyone goes, how do you do that? Did you like submit a picture and they sent you this to build? And I'm like, no, I designed it. And they just can't fathom that, which is pretty funny. But it's, different world of Lego. But anyway, I'm going to be doing a display there. And at this point, I've pretty well determined I'm going to bring the entire Lego city. The event, I believe, is May 2nd and 3rd. So I got a few months. I got to finish the city, or at least get it presentable. And I have to transport it. And I never built this city with the intention of moving it. So I've got some work to do. I got to figure out how to make it more movable. It's going to be a real treat. So yeah, that's on my plate, but I got a few months to get it done. So that's what I'll be working on, as well as getting the city finished up, or at least finished up enough to show it off, right? Man, these bags of these little pieces are really tedious, but these piles look great. So, yes, I will be showing my stuff off. I will have the obelisk there. I will have the giant pencil there. And some of my challenge builds, the ones that aren't in the city. So I'm looking forward to that. And I think it'll be a pretty cool thing. So if you guys do want to see my stuff and you are local, that will be an opportunity. And I'll make more announcements about that as we get closer, because it's still a ways away, and I don't even think the city has announced this event yet. Yeah, I think it'll be cool. It'll be fun to actually be able to show this stuff I've got here in my basement to some real people for once. And it could be a little trial run for something bigger, like a Brick World Chicago, perhaps. So maybe if that goes well, and we could see what the future holds for Brick World. Almost done sorting this here. Man, these little parts just take forever. A lot of trans pink stuff. I recently broke up a lot of my bins, and my transparent stuff went from 3 bins to 4. And so I do have more room for more colors like trans pink that I don't own a lot of. I now have all my blues in one bin, and my purples in there too. But I don't have a lot of trans purple, although I got some more now. I have my greens and yellows in another bin. I'm talking all transparent now. So sorry about that. I was filming for so long that my battery died. So I'm picking this up the next day. I was talking about my transparent bins. Yes, I now have 4 transparent bins. One has trans clear and trans black stuff in it. One has all my trans blues in it. And I have one with greens and yellows and one with reds, oranges, and pinks. So I do have some more room for transparent parts now. Almost done sorting this stuff here. I'm sorry if the view looks a little different. I was up kind of late sorting, and I knew my camera battery and my phone battery was low. I didn't know it was that low. So it caught me a little off guard. But that's okay. I needed to go to bed anyway. And after I finish sorting this here, I will start putting it away. I want to talk a little bit about what I've been up to lately. I have been putting in a significant amount of time in the Lego room here. I haven't filmed everything I've done. Sometimes I just need a break from it. At the end of the day, this is something I do for my enjoyment. And of course, the YouTube is also enjoyable or fun for me. But at the end of the day, sometimes I just like to do my own thing, build my own stuff, and I'll keep you guys updated. But I don't film every little tiny aspect of things I do in here. So I've been working on a lot of different projects, which is typical. And often you guys only see the ones that I'm real happy with, or that I keep, or are worth filming. But I have been putting in a lot of time on the Lego City. At the end of the day, all this stuff, all these Legos, all these projects, the thing that I really, really, really enjoy about this hobby is city building. I don't mind doing the other stuff as well, but that's what really brought me to this, and what I've always enjoyed doing, and what I continue to like most about building with Lego. So I have been putting some time on that. I'm not quite ready for a city update yet, but I have made some decent changes. I took out, I'll give you a little spoiler here, I did take out my Octane gas station, the one that I built for one of the challenges. I do love that build, don't get me wrong. It is an excellent build, and I'm quite happy with how it came out. The problem is it takes up a lot of room, and it just doesn't fit the city so well, especially that it's located kind of right on the water, which doesn't make a lot of sense. So it has since been removed, and instead I'm going to have some different things going on in that space. So I've been spending a lot of time working on that and getting that all making sense. Of course, that's going to require me to build more buildings, and then probably order more pieces usually follows that. But that's okay. I like buying Lego. All right, so we are starting here at the first bin. Bright green. This is a color I do not use very much, but I wish I could use more. And in an attempt to make it more usable, I have purchased more. When I go through a color like this, I'll typically order everything that makes sense. So I'll filter by color. Another reason I like Brick Owl better than Brick Link, to me it's easier to filter. I know that's not a popular opinion. There's more Brick Linkers than Brick Owlers out there. But to me, one, it's easier to use on a smartphone. Much easier to use on a smartphone than the Brick Link is. And number two, I have an easier time filtering and finding what I'm actually looking for on Brick Owl than Brick Link, especially in a timely manner. If I'm in front of a PC, either works fine, but on my phone quickly, when I'm sitting at my workstation here, I can pull a bin out, look through it, see what I need, see what I don't need, and quickly order it. where it's just real convenient. And so that is generally why I go Brick Owl. But with this order, I did pull out specific bins and go through specific colors that I needed more of. And as I did that, I'd kind of go through the catalog. Anything that looked useful and was affordable, let's say, I bought it. You know, so if a piece may have a potential use and they were 3, 4, 5 cents a piece, I would buy 4 of them or 6 of them or 8 of them, just depending on how useful I thought it'd be in the future, to just get a nice well-rounded selection. So I think I did pretty good on some of this stuff. Now keep in mind, a lot of these colors, the part selection itself is bad. You know, they don't make a lot of stuff in a lot of these colors. So unfortunately, the collection is limited to what Lego produces. I've done my explorations with alt bricks in the past, and I'm not opposed to using them at times. I think there is a time and a place for the alt brick. It looks pretty good, but in general, I think my using of alt bricks will be limited to specific circumstances. For example, if I want to do a recolor on something and Lego just doesn't make the parts. I did a blue spruce not long ago, and Lego doesn't make a lot of sand green plant pieces. Well, fortunately for me, GoBricks does, and so I was able to get the parts I needed and make the tree I wanted to make. Even though it's not built with Lego, it turned out really nice. And, you know, a lot of people get hard on Lego about not offering certain things. They do a lot. I mean, you know, they are the leader, obviously, and they kind of set the trends, and they kind of, you know, inherently set the rules a little bit. But if you look at the part selection between like a GoBricks and Lego, GoBricks online is going to look like they offer a ton. And they do have a good selection. But the depth of pieces is nowhere near what Lego makes. Now, the color selection in a given piece might be greater. You know, they might give one specific weird plant piece, and whoa, it comes in 15, 20 colors. But if you look at the overall amount of selection of pieces, it's actually quite low, comparatively, of course, which you would expect. You know, they don't have the amount of molds that Lego does. And I do think it's a growing thing where they're going to have more and more in the future. But for right now, they don't. So this is a color, for whatever reason, I've really been wanting to work on. And this is the Vibrant Yellow, a new color for Lego as of a few years ago. But it's becoming more common. Now, do I have a use for this color? Absolutely not. But do I want to find a use for this color? Yes, I do. I don't know. I like it. It's different. It's definitely not traditional. It's not something you could ever have imagined Lego making. It feels almost, I hate to say this, but almost Mega Block-ish or alt brick-ish. But it works. You know, there's a place for it, and I understand it, and I'm embracing it. I'm gonna build a whole bin of these, because why not? I can. Now, there is not a huge part selection, so you can see this is pretty sparse. I've got a lot of double-wide bins that don't need to be double-wide, but until I get a larger variety of parts, whoa! Especially if I start throwing them everywhere. Sorry, I have a camera in my face. I can't really see what I'm doing very well. But as I get a bigger variety of parts, which is more going to be limited to what Lego is actually making in this color. Being a newer color, not a ton of stuff out there, but we're getting there. It's starting to make a bin. And this was one I specifically had to go through the bin, see what I already had, and then order everything I don't have. Now, when you do get some of these newer, more uncommon parts, they can get expensive. Vibrant yellow is not super expensive because I don't think it's very widely used by builders. So I don't think it's very popular. But on the flip side, a color like this is rare, hard to get. This is a reddish orange, and it is quite expensive. And they don't make a big piece selection. There are a few pieces that they make in this color that I don't have, but I'm not paying like $1 a piece for certain things just because they're uncommon on a piece that I'm really not going to use much, although I do love this color. And in the future, I think this is going to be a staple in Lego sets. I think this is a even newer color than Vibrant Yellow, and I'm pretty sure Lego is going to be using this more and more in their sets because it's a great color. It really is. Gotta add some dividers here in some of these colors. Bring my bin of dividers over. There we go. A lot of these bins are real new, and I just split some of these colors up. Like, for example, this color, the reddish orange, I used to share with Coral. And in the wall expansion, it has now gotten its own bin. It used to be in one bin, but now I have another over there. I have another wall like this, smaller. I haven't shown it yet. I'm waiting for a room update, which shouldn't be too far out. I have built another cabinet over there to hold my Sterilite bins, which I still need to paint it. And oh man, I messed up. Actually, it's half my fault, half Sterilite's fault. They have different generations of these Sterilite 3-drawer plastic bins. And of course, between generations, they decided to alter the design by 1/4 inch. So when you build a cabinet to hold them, you measure 1, assuming that they're all going to fit the same. My mistake. And I had a couple of bins, one of each size, one big one, one small one, that were 1/4 inch taller and do not fit the cabinet. So now I'm scrambling, trying to find the correct bins, hoping I can find them. I did find one already, and I'm still working on the second one. Should be able to get that because I bought some recently. So yeah, that's been fun. So that project got a little delayed. I would like to have had that done already, but it still need to find another bin and then get it painted. But I'll be sharing that with you shortly, and that'll be tied into a room update because I've been doing a lot of work down here. I'm still planning on creating an upper shelf around the outside perimeter of the room to put stuff on, which is much needed. I'm always in need of storage space. But I actually am planning on incorporating that with this May show that I'm doing. The reason being is I'm going to put a shelf over the city, and putting a shelf is going to require drilling holes in drywall and studs, which means sawdust. And I really don't want a lot of sawdust falling on the Lego City, because as you probably know, Lego is incredibly not fun to clean. So if I can hang that shelf when the city has been removed for the show, I can kind of do a double duty here and get both done at the same time. So that's my plan. I'm going to get the shelf built before the show, remove the city for the show, put the shelf up while the city is out, and then put the city back in after the show. And it's going to be a lot of work, but I think that's the best option. I also don't have to put the city right back in right away. I can take my time. I can get it back in the house and slowly re-put it in if it's, a big task, because that shelf may take a little bit longer than I expect. But it should go up pretty quick. I'm pretty handy with that kind of stuff. I do a lot of at-home DIY construction stuff. I'm a bit of a woodworker. Not as much as I used to be, but I still have the know-how and the tools. That bin's looking pretty good. I mean, coral is a color that I had a pretty weak selection of. This is not bad. I'm happy with that. That's a great start there. What do we got here? This is kind of a weaker color. What is this? Is this one of the Azures? I think this is dark azure. The blues always get me. You got bright light blue, you got medium blue, you got light azure, dark azure, and they all kind of look the same to me. Yes, there's some are lighter and darker, but the names just, you know, they just kind of all run together to me. Got a lot of stuff in here I don't already own, which is great. Cheese slopes. Yeah, this bin's definitely going to fill up a bit. There's a lot of parts here that are new. That's okay. This is the goal. This is why I did this order. Try to make the color more useful to me. So yeah, I've talked a lot about what's been going on in the Lego City. Now, what's been going on in my personal life? I have not been busy at work. We are a bike shop. We are very seasonal, and it is January, so we are not busy. We don't have a lot going on. I do several winter projects to keep me somewhat busy. But, you know, as for day-to-day selling bikes and actual work, it's pretty uneventful. Now, I do some things in the winter that are fun and different. I do run a service clinic. I am a bicycle mechanic. At this point, I manage the store, but I have years of experience working on bicycles, and that's what I really enjoy doing. And though I am a sales manager at this point, I am arguably the most qualified mechanic in the store. And I teach a service clinic over the winter when it's slow. And it's really fun. I've been doing it for probably 5 or more years now. And I really enjoy teaching. That's something I don't get to do a lot of, and something I've always thought I was pretty good at. And basically we go through a tune-up of a bicycle. So it's a 5-week course, 1 day a week for 5 weeks. And basically we cover every part of a bicycle tune-up. So week 1 we do cleaning, bicycle cleaning, and then drivetrain cleaning, getting the bike looking good, and cleaning out the drivetrain and all that. We also talk about chain care, and I'm actually running my first class tonight for this session. Well, actually, it would be yesterday or a few days ago, because this video is not going to go out today, but that's okay. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. People pay and they get it, you know, and then the next day we'll do brakes and then shifting and wheel truing, and the end of it, people get a full tune-up on their bike and a whole lot of knowledge about how their bicycle works, and it's pretty well received. I've been doing it a while. People like it. I have mentioned in the past, but I haven't talked about it a lot. This YouTube channel is actually not my first go at YouTube. It's actually my second go, but it is definitely the one that got the most success. So I did a bicycle channel, and I still have it. It's still available. I may share it more with you someday, but it's inactive. I don't really use it anymore. Most of it is how-to videos, and yeah, which still get views because people are always looking to try to fix their stuff that's broken. Yeah, I did that for several years. You know, I never did a huge commitment to it. I might post a video a month or 2 videos a month, but it added up. I mean, I've got a few hundred videos on there. You know, I had a few stretches that I posted a lot, and then a few stretches that I didn't post at all, including now. yeah, so I did that for a while and did pretty good with it, but it was not near the level of attention I've gotten with this channel, or near the level of enjoyment I've gotten. I've been doing the bicycle thing for I think 18 years now. I started it in high school and went away to college, but never really left it. I managed bike shops all through college, got my degree, graduated, tried a few jobs outside the bicycle world, and just never loved them. I'm not the type of person who loves corporate life. If anybody loves corporate life, I don't think there is, but it's definitely not for me. I don't like sitting at desks. I don't like, I don't like that kind of stuff. I like my freedom, and I like to be able to do my own thing. And, I've been fortunate enough to be able to do that and still have a good job and get the things I want and need out of life. And yeah, so that's kind of where I got back into the bike world. But yeah, I've been doing it for a long time. But the point I was getting at is I've kind of, you might say, out of the honeymoon phase where, when I started in the bike world, it was all exciting. And, I would go to work, I'd work on bikes, I'd go home and I'd be on the internet looking at the newest, latest bike stuff all night. And then I go back to work again the next day and do it all again. And that's over. I still enjoy bikes. I still ride bikes. I still am up to date with bikes. But I'm not obsessed like I was. And, after 18 years of doing the same thing, I think most people would say that kind of happens to them, where even though you're still into it, the honeymoon phase is over, and it becomes a little bit more of a job and less of a hobby. And, but I still have always loved the bike world and everything it has to offer, and I've been pretty invested in it. So anyway, my point here is that in doing the bike YouTube channel, it was fun, but it was definitely more of a job than a passion, let's say. And again, it's not that I'm not passionate about bicycles, it's just that I've done it for so long and gotten so vested in it that I would work all day on bikes and then come home and video bikes. And I'm like, this ain't for me anymore. I want to do something different when I get out of that. I don't want to see a bicycle. I tell people that, when I'm not on the clock, I know nothing about bicycles. But the second I punch in, I'll answer anything you want. But, there we go. It looks pretty good. So yeah, I just kind of got sick of doing it when I wasn't at work, and it took a lot of the fun out of it. The other thing that was different about the bike YouTube channel than the Lego community is the people. And I'm generalizing here, so don't judge me for this. But in general, YouTube is a harsh world. It can be. The internet, everything's public, and everyone has an opinion. And I love the Lego community, and you guys are so approachable. Everyone's so friendly. I think in the couple of years I've done this, I may have had 5 or 6 like truly negative comments where it was like, man, that was kind of rude and out of place. And that's it. Out of the hundreds and thousands of comments I've gotten, I mean, only a few. Generally are good people. This is a fun activity that people come to it because they don't want to argue and they don't want to fight and they don't want to be, whatever the word is. But it's just an approachable thing, and people are great. The bike crowd is a little different. Not everyone, of course, but you post a video and you'll get someone on there and did you use torque wrench on that bolt? It's like, dude, are you logging in here to make sure that I'm torque wrenching every single bolt on a bike? Is that your goal in this? Did you need to be that guy? And I just, you have to have thick skin on YouTube. Everyone who's ever posted online or anything knows that. You're going to have some naysayers, and it's just part of it. When you put yourself out there to the public, that's going to come with the role, and that's totally fine. But the bike world, it was just these people, for the most part, were just a lot less enjoyable, and it makes it not as much fun to talk to them online, to engage with them online. The Lego world, the people are great. I mean, just so much fun to talk to. Everyone's encouraging, and for the most part, and it's just it's just a much better atmosphere. And I've always felt much more at home doing this kind of stuff on Lego than I did with the bike stuff. I mean, it was really kind of a struggle to have to sit there and answer to people who are trying to berate me over the stupidest things on YouTube because I may have said one little thing wrong. And instead of like giving me a simple correction, it's, oh, this guy's an idiot. You know, like, oh man, you're really making me not want to make these videos, you know? And, you know, you have to learn to get past it, especially it being my first go at YouTube. It took a little bit for me to grow that thick skin, you know, because I wasn't accustomed to it yet. Now I can brush it off and say, yeah, whatever, move on. For every one negative person, you've got 200 that are appreciative of the content. So that's how I kind of look at it now. But yeah, you know, just the amount of naysayers. I had one video. I was on my workbench in my garage. I do have a bike shop in my garage, although I don't use it much anymore. And I was doing a review on a trainer, an indoor trainer, and, you know, nothing to do with any of the tools behind. I had a backdrop similar to this, you know, and I got a wall of tools, and I have a can of grease, a simple can of grease. And I'm doing this review of this trainer, which actually turned out being a pretty good video. It's quite popular. It gets watched quite a bit still. And somebody had to chime in and say, it disgusts me that you leave your grease can open. And I'm like, of all the things, you know, if I mess up a fact, tell me, you know, correct me. I'm happy to admit I'm not perfect, and I'm good with that. You know, you tell me I said it's a 2004 and it's actually a 2006. That's cool. I'm cool with that. Correct me. But you're going to sit there and talk about my grease can? Is that the best we can do? And just stuff like that. It gets you. And like, this is the kind of person who's watching this video who has to comb through this to try to find out, you know, to try to comment on my grease can. and of course I'm generalizing. This is not everyone on there, but just that's the kind of thing that just makes you not want to do it. So I still occasionally do put stuff on that channel. It's very inactive, but I use it more for work purposes. If I'm going to do a how-to on something for my customers more than anything, I'll put it up on there. But for the most part, I don't touch that channel. I put all my effort over here now, and this is where I like to be. It's much happier space for me. And for anybody who is at all interested in getting into YouTube, you know, don't look at me as some savant of YouTube. I am a Lego builder. I am a bike mechanic. I am not a video person. As you can tell by the quality of my videos, I do this for the other sides of the hobby. The video is just a means of communication more than anything. But anyone who's looking to get into this, you know, a couple things. You got to have thick skin. You know, don't worry about the comments. You know, look at them as positive. You know, the cool thing is every negative comment is engagement. So some of my best videos are some of the ones that got the most thumbs down, whatever. And some of my best videos have some of the most negative comments. And the reason is there's no such thing as bad publicity when it comes to the algorithm. You know, they look at it as engagement. I had a video I did in the bike channel that was kind of controversial. All right, guys. Well, I think that the YouTube gods want me to stop this video because I was just chatty, and then I looked at the camera after a while. I don't even know how much I cut off, but it stopped recording because I think my memory is full. So I am going to cut it off here. I'm sorry if there's kind of an abrupt ending, but this video has been going on a little too long. So that's all I have for this time. I do enjoy these short and chats, and I'll be doing more in the future. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. I do more just like this in the future. If you have any questions, please leave them below. That's all I have for this time, and we will see you next time.